Welcome back to the Global Business Report here on Arise News. I'm Idia Isiang coming to you this afternoon from Nigeria's commercial capital. Internet giant Alibaba has set a new sales record on Sunday for its biggest shopping day, the annual Singles Day. The Chinese company hit a record $1 billion in sales in 85 seconds and then just shy of $10 billion in the first hour of the 24-hour spree. In total, customers spent $30.8 billion, up 27% on last year, but the lowest annual increase in the history of Singles Day. Online discounts have been offered on the 11th of November, Alibaba's informal holiday for the singles since 2009. Alibaba Group Chief Executive Daniel Zhang said the spending bonanza demonstrated customers' continued pursuits to upgrade their everyday lifestyles. We crossed to Tokyo earlier for the latest from Arise Asia business correspondent Mayu Yoshida, and I started by asking what's been happening with the Asian markets. Take a look.
Sure. Well, Asian markets are making a cautious start to the new trading week. Worries over oil prices and global growth, especially over the outlook in China, limited gains in the region. Now, here in Tokyo, the Nikkei share average ended flat. In Seoul, the Kospi ended 0.25% lower, pressured by biopharma stocks. Meanwhile, resource-heavy Australia got a boost from higher oil prices. The S&P/ASX gained 0.3%, led by gains in energy stocks. Oil prices rose about 1%. After top exporter Saudi Arabia announced plans to reduce oil supply. Now, in China, the Shanghai Composite rose 1.25% thanks to government measures to support the private sector, but the Hong Kong Hang Seng ended a little bit lower. Now, as for market focus this week, now that most Asian companies release their earnings, focus will turn to data from the U.S., China, Japan, and Germany.
Well, Mayo, today the Tokyo Stock Exchange approved listing of SoftBank's mobile unit. How big will it be, and will the unit be protected from controversy surrounding SoftBank's ties to Saudi money?
I'm not getting audio now, but just hours ago, SoftBank got the approval to list its mobile unit. SoftBank wants to raise 2.4 trillion yen from Japanese retail investors. That's over $21 billion and would make it one of the biggest IPOs ever. Now, the spinoff of SoftBank mobile unit is a big deal for SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son. It'll help him focus on tech investments through the $100 billion Vision Fund. Now, his ambition is to drive the future of artificial intelligence, and by spinning off the mobile unit, he won't need to think about his day-to-day operations, especially at a time when Japanese mobile phone carriers are facing a pressure from the government to lower phone fees. Now, as for relations to Saudi money, the mobile unit will be protected from Saudi money. SoftBank's mobile unit doesn't rely on Saudi Arabia in the same way Vision Fund does. Now, as for schedule going forward, SoftBank is eyeing to list its mobile unit on December 19th. Now that they got the approval, they will start selecting brokerages, and the IPO price will likely be announced on December 10th. So there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm in the markets before Christmas for this mega IPO.
Well, Mayo, while we're speaking about SoftBank, we have to also talk about Alibaba, because SoftBank is still its biggest shareholder. It's been 10 years since Alibaba launched Singles Day, and its extravaganza is bigger than ever, Mayo. So what's the takeaway from this?
Well, Alibaba still pulled off another record. We saw a 27% increase in sales from the number we saw in 2017. Alibaba cashed in roughly $30 billion during the 24-hour shopping extravaganza. Now, in terms of exporters, Japan, South Korea, and surprisingly the U.S. were the top 3 countries that shipped its products to Chinese consumers for Singles Day, despite the U.S.-China trade conflict. Now, at the news conference last night, Alibaba Vice Chairman Joe Tsai pointed to some of the changes in Chinese consumer trend. He said that big ticket items like televisions are less popular this year, while cosmetics and small appliances like iPhones sold well. Now, he said that this comes on the back of China's slowing real estate sector. He said if people aren't buying new homes, they aren't buying big appliances. And slower sales of big ticket items might be a reason why we saw slower growth this year. And in fact, the 27 increase was the slowest growth in its in its 10-year history, and it was much lower than last year's 40% increase. Now, analysts say the sales slowdown comes from China's slowing economy and the recent trade war with Washington. But still, Singles Day is the world's biggest online sales event, outstripping sales of Black Friday and Cyber Monday in the U.S.
Well, Mayu, that's good news on that front, but there's still concerns about consumer spending in China, and it seems to be hitting one company in particular really hard. Tell us about this.
Well, the company you are referring to is Meituan Dianping. It's a sort of a do-everything app in China. A lot of its business is food delivery, but you can buy tickets to the movies, concerts, all sorts of things on there as well. Now, it made a debut in Hong Kong markets only a couple of months ago, but since then, its stock price has fallen about 20% or so. That's because there are worries about consumer spending in China. Now, data for the broader economy and things like factories and manufacturing has been concerning many, but it's the domestic market that many are focusing on. Liquor makers, for instance, have seen their shares plummet recently because of the slowdown. More generally, through the worry is that this could have a knock-on effect on the whole Chinese economy, and especially on things like housing. Now, Meituan itself has its own worries as well. Alibaba is kicking up its plans to compete more aggressively with a new economy firm. So while Singles Day might grab headlines with record spending, clearly investors are showing there are more concerns with what they're buying on the Chinese stock markets.
Well, Mayu, it's Summit Week in Asia, and U.S. Vice President Mike Pence is visiting Japan ahead of the summit. What's the key focus here?
Well, the elephant in the room is the absence of President Trump at the Asian summits this week. Now, Trump sent his vice president, Mike Pence, instead. This fueled doubts in Asia about Washington's commitment and consistency in the region, especially after Trump pulled out of the major Pacific trade deal, intensified trade disputes with China, and also slapped tariffs on Asian allies, including Japan, which is actually one of the closest allies to the U.S. And Trump is skipping Asian summits. Trump skipping Asian summits just makes sense for Asian countries to reconsider their partners. So all eyes will be on tomorrow's meeting between Pence and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo. They are expected to discuss China, North Korea, and maybe a little bit of trade as well. And before Pence left to Tokyo, Pence said that the U.S. commitment in the region has never been strong, but he'll need to make significant announcements during this visit to Japan to overcome growing skepticism about Trump's commitment to Asia.
All right, Asia business correspondent there, Mayu Yoshida. You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News.